Hello friends, welcome to Programming Concepts. My name is Amit and this is part 67 of the ASP.NET Core MVC tutorial. In this video, we will talk about environment variables in ASP.NET Core MVC. This is a continuation of part 66, launchSettings.json in ASP.NET Core. So please watch it before proceeding to this one. I shared the link in the description. Before moving forward, let's learn what are environments in software lifecycle. If you have some industrial experience, the word environment may not be new to you. Otherwise, the word environment might confuse you at this moment. Let's explore this word. In real-time application development, once we complete our development work, we don't copy the latest build to the live server directly. It has to go through a series of deployments. The minimum basic deployments you will find in any organizations are development, staging, and production. When the developer finishes his assigned task, he checked in his code to some version control system like TFS, Git, or Bitbucket. And there is a dedicated team, we call them DevOps, who created an automated pipeline responsible to get the latest build and host your application in some system or cloud. In some organizations, developers have direct access to the development server itself. So the very first system or server where your code will be deployed, known as development environment. When we write our code via Visual Studio, we call it a local environment. If all checks pass, then the build will go to next system or servers. I used the word servers because there can be n number of servers where load is managed via load balancer. In this environment, the organization tries to keep most of the things similar to the production environment. We generally call this server or collection of servers a staging environment. I use the word generally because in different organizations, name can vary. Some call it ops and some use other naming conventions. All right. Next, if everything looks good, then build will be deployed to your live servers. We call it production environment. All right, these are the three minimum sets of environment you will find in any organization, and some organizations have many more in between, like the user acceptance testing environment, QA environment, etc. So there can be n number of environments, but these three are generally present in most organizations. As you understand, in this staging environment, idea is to make most of the things similar to the live environment. Like you will find that few databases are copied from the live environment, many live APIs will be used. When we talk about development environment, idea is to identify initial errors if any. For that, developers use non-minified JS files so that they can debug JavaScript if any issue occur. Developers use the developer exception page so that we can get stack trace directly in the browser itself to save time, etc. Production is your live environment where your real-time user interact with your application. So till now we understand what is environment in the web development world. Now the question is how we create a different environment, because once we check in our code, the same build will go to the development environment, the same build will go to the staging environment, and if all goes well, the same build will go to the production environment. So how does our application identify when we use files or APIs specific to development environment and when to use files specific to the production environment? So to achieve this, we need to use environment variables. So the best way to tell our application is in which environment the code is deployed. We can use the system environment variables. Let's see that. Let's open environment variable. Create a new system environment variable. The key to define environment is ASPNETCORE_environment. Let's say I'm planning to use this system, my laptop, for the staging environment. So let's type staging. Similarly, in different servers, we will set this environment variable to development and production. Let me restart my system so that these environment variables can take effect. I restarted my system. Now we define environment variables, which is good. But how my application will get this value? Let's see that in action. Let's go to the Visual Studio. And this is the project which we are working with. Let's open the program.cs class. We will use app.environment property. Let's create another middleware to print some dummy messages. Let's create this middleware after routing. Otherwise, it will match our next middleware, which is use endpoints. And this middleware will not get a chance to execute. So app.run, then within brackets, async context such that curly braces await context dot response dot write async, and let's say the message is your hosting environment is colon, then within double quotes app.environment name. Also delete the web.config file which was generated because of .NET 5. Next, let's publish your code. Let's open IIS side by side. We already have a website created. Let's point this website to D and then Pro Concepts, where we just published our code. Our code is also published. Let's browse this site. See, we get the correct environment variable value. Let's go to Visual Studio and stop the application. Now we understand that Microsoft has given this property to get environment info, and it is of type I web host environment. Let's explore some other properties exposed by this interface. As we discussed earlier, we have 3 different environments generally available in most organizations. So to speed up and avoid typo errors, Microsoft has exposed a few inbuilt methods which will check if the environment variable is set to development, staging, or production. Let's use them. Let's use if condition and then app.environment.isDevelopment. Else if app.environment.isStaging. Else if app.environment.isProduction. So these methods are self-explanatory. You can write your custom code or assign your setting within these methods. I know we are doing it within program file itself and not in the controller, models, or views. We will also cover those topics as well. Don't worry. Just understand the concept here, and the concept here is extremely simple. Just like we store some settings in configuration file, we can also store important settings which are specific to environment and environment variables as well. Simple. Other use cases we will explore later on. Next, what if we have more server or environment in between, let's say UAT, user acceptance testing? Then there is no default method available, right? In that case, we can use environment name. Let's use that. So another else if, then app.environment.environment name, convert it to 2 upper, so dot 2 upper double equal to UAT. Simple. And write your code specific to the UAT environment here. Simple, extremely simple. Another use case is if we have a custom environment variable. Let's say we are using some API in our application to send messages. Now in production, we would like to use real API because it is paid. But in other environments, we would like to use dummy API provided for testing purposes. Let's create another environment variable. Let's go to the environment variable. Add a new system environment variable. Let me name it Google Message API. And let's say its value is https://google.com/message API. Let's see how can we read this value in the ASP.NET Core application. Let's go to the program file. Use another await. So await context.response.writeAsync, then \n for new line, message API, then plus environment.getEnvironmentVariable. And let's provide your environment variable key, which is Google Message API. And that's it. Let's publish your code. And because we have added a new system variable, we have to restart our system to take effect. Please restart once your code gets published. I restarted my system. Let's browse our published code. See, working as expected. So till now, we understand what are environments and how to set and get environment variables. But as a developer, it is very time consuming to open the system environment variable tab and set the environment variables. Being a developer, we may need to switch these settings frequently to make sure how things are working with different environment variables of different environment. So if I have to test settings specific to development environment, I have to go and set an environment variable. Then I have to test my application with other environments, say staging. Then I have to update my environment variables again. Here, we only use 2 environment variables, but in real-time project, there can be many environment variables. And for developers, changing all these environment variables is a very time-consuming task. So, what can we do to save this time? We can use profiles within our launch settings, which we discussed in our previous video. Let's go to the Visual Studio launchSettings.json file. Just copy the ISExpress setting and paste it 2 times. For the first one, name it development. And for the second one, name it staging. Let's change ASP.NET Core environment to staging for staging environment. Let's add another key for staging, Google Message API. https://google.com/message API. Copy and add the same to the development environment. And let's say for development, our API is localhost instead of google.com. And that's it. Now we can use different environment variables for different environments from our Visual Studio itself. Select your profile from the top and run your application. See, working as expected. Nothing complicated. Simple, extremely simple. Let's go to slide and see some common settings which should vary when we host our build to the production environment. The production environment should be configured to maximize security, performance, and application robustness. Some common settings that differ from the development include caching. Client-side resources are bundled, minified, and potentially served from a CDN. Diagnostic error pages disabled. Friendly error pages enabled. Production logging and monitoring enabled, for example, using application insights. Do not worry, we will implement these things as well as we will proceed along with this tutorial. So that's it from this video. Hope you like our content. If you have any queries related to the content of this video, do ask me in the comments. Till then, thanks for watching.